there is like a huge problem with people not wanting to go into HVAC anymore. And so they're almost paying people to then get these programs or to get, the education so that they can do these things and start these businesses. And so I believe it's just acquiring skills that are in demand, that are valuable, that are self-sustainable. And after that, then creating systems that where these businesses can run themselves and then teaching. And then I also believe that you can't have Black wealth without Black families. So then implementing the fact that we need to have Black families. We need to be cultivating. We need to kind of stop the single motherhoodness that's happening in the baby mama culture, to put it like that, the baby mama culture that's happening here. Because if you don't have marriage and if you don't have children, then there is no Black wealth. And so those are, to me, the biggest things that need to happen. And I feel like it needs to happen with the men.
Got you. I could just say this in regards to the trades. I'll start with that one. In the 1970s, my father has two master's degrees. I think out of the U.S. military, he had two. He had in the Army. Every 2 years, you get the military. They give you essentially 1 year of college for free. So my father graduated. My father retired from the military at 22 years in. He had 11 years of free college. So actually has two master's degrees. When he was in high school, his professor, one of his guidance counselors told him, "You're not smart enough to go to college. You need to learn a trade." And as a result of that, my dad promised himself at some point in my life, I'm gonna get like a master's degree. I'm gonna come back and find this imbecile, and I'm gonna basically just throw my master's degree on the table, so I'm smarter than he is. What was
Yeah.
interesting about that is that I think that's kind of the way, to some extent, America went. Back in the '70s, they were telling Black men in particular, "You're not smart enough to go to college. You need to learn a trade." And the reason why they were doing that was because back then trades did not pay nearly what they pay today, and college degrees paid a lot more than they pay today. So I spent some time in the trades myself and working in construction and stuff like that. And I can say with certainty, as a guy who has a mechanical engineer and who has an MBA in finance, the electricians that I work with all make over $200,000 a year. The
Mm-hmm.
that I work with all make over $150,000. The plumbers that I work with all make over 100K a year. And these brothers don't got no student loan debt.
That's what I was say. Less debt,
Yeah,
way
no.
less.
So what
Mhm.
happened was they stopped, and also around the '70s and the early '80s, they started taking the trades out of the inner city high schools because they didn't want us to learn the trades, and then they started paying people a lot more. Now what's starting to happen is they're starting to tell people, okay, don't go to. Well, it's starting to slowly happen. They're starting to say, okay, you guys need to start learning trades. When I first got into construction 20 years ago, I always saw brothers and like Hispanic guys on the job sites. Now I only see Latin guys. It's like no brothers. So
Yeah.
I agree with you completely about the trades, and I think that the more of us who go into the trades to some extent, particularly if we compare it with starting our own construction companies, our own electrical consulting companies, or our own HVAC companies, it's going to make us so much money as a group of people. Definitely.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. And then with tech being, me and my mom was actually discussing this too, where the same innovation that is happening that we see typically in, let's say, white males or whatever like that are coming up with these, or even the Asian community really, that's coming up with these huge tech companies. That same innovation and creativity is in the Black community as well, but the lack of resources, also being told that, hey, you can't do something like that, allowing, especially, nothing wrong with Black women, but financially right now Black women are in a good space. Giving those opportunities to Black men, like to be into STEM, to be into tech, and to start creating these companies, to go into these trades, uh, to me, I feel as though is the answer. And then obviously building families, because if I have 50,000 and you have 50,000 and we have 100,000, and it's difficult to even it's difficult to try to buy a home by yourself as a single person, right? It's difficult to come up with that down payment to make those mortgage payments. It's difficult to pay rent as a single person, And so I just feel as though two heads are better than one. And then there is no generational wealth without children. And that's like a whole different other thing. But I do believe that we need to bring back family structure, family values, entrepreneurship, creativity, and also to be church and God in the center of all of this, because I think that would lead us in the right direction as a community.
Got you. So let me ask you this then. Uh, a quick little story. I was at a very upscale lounge with some of my boys in Jacksonville, Florida, and I was hanging out with some people. At the time, I was single, and the women and I was basically hanging out with some girls. And the women that were at the table, basically, they were all bragging about the guys they had in their lives and how much money the guys made or didn't make and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
I automatically had kind of tuned out to this conversation because I was just like, all right, it's not really my crowd. Anyway, to make a long story short, they were trashing these dudes because these guys all made, let's just throw the number, all made under $75,000, and these women all made about 80K. And
Mhm.
when the conversation came to me, at the time, I was making a lot more than 80K, but I made it very clear that, yeah, I'm probably making, I basically told these women I'm only making about 50,000. At that point, they kind of started to try to somewhat ignore me. Later
Yeah.
on, they found out what I really do for a living and kind of what I am actually making. And they went from thinking I was beneath them to wanting to get with me. And I
Mm.
was like, please get away from me. I don't roll like that, please. I'm good. I'm gonna talk to these people over here. So me and my boy Maurice, we got up and we left and went somewhere else. I'm saying that to say this. These were unfortunately a group of black women. So
Yeah.
to the brothers that are listening, do you think our women will be comfortable talking to a guy if a woman makes 75,000 and the brother only makes 50,000?
Absolutely. I'm going to say that, and I do understand that being your experience, but you also said that you were in a more classy lounge, right?
This was a slightly more. It was one of those kind of spots where we're like on the 45th floor, overlooking like downtown Jacksonville. So it was somewhat classy, yeah.
Right. So, okay, I want to speak to the fact of I believe in looking at the whole context of the thing. In environments such as those, there are women that go there looking for men, that they're looking for a higher caliber of a man, right? So you're getting these mindsets of women. I don't believe that that is the mindset of the average Black woman. I believe that that is the mindset of women on Instagram and people that listen to Instagram talking points. As far as I can see, it seems as though, especially Black women, have always kind of dated men no matter what their financial status was. I mean, you can see why do very, very broke men have like seven baby mothers? Clearly, it's not an issue for them to find women, right? So I don't think that that is the mindset of the average Black woman, though I do believe that it is just embedded in women to want to go after a man that has security and stability. And the way that we tend to measure security and stability is through finances. Now, I think that a lot of this was talking points that kind of went on in the 2020s, where it was almost like this gender war in the Black community. And I always believe that I'm always suspicious of things when it's happening in
Absolutely,
a way.
absolutely.
And so I felt like that was more of a ploy to keep people separated and not from joining with each other. But when I look at the average experience of a Black woman, especially today, not always, let me not say that. They often date men that they earn more than. And I think that women just earn more at this point because of more opportunities being open. My mindset is not looking for a man at a certain number. I had to tell my friend this one time. It's not looking for a man that's earning six figures and up. It's looking for a man that's generous, because a man that has a lot of money doesn't mean that he's a good character. That doesn't mean he's generous. That doesn't mean he'll give you any more money. There's a lot of men that are very cheap. And so you want a man that is generous and that is a provider and that is of good character and good integrity wherever, but also a man that can sustain himself as well. So wherever that price point is, that also depends on where you're living at. What are your goals for each other and being in a relationship? And I believe in partnerships. So if the guy has 75 and the woman has 85, we have much more together than we do apart anyways. But I don't think that that is the mindset of the average woman, I'll be honest.
Nah, I don't either. I can just say from a guy who dated a lot and lived as a bachelor in multiple cities. I was always kind of blessed because I went to careers that always kind of allowed me to be more, to say, on the higher end of that quote unquote socioeconomic status. And when
Mm-hmm.
women would ask me that question, I wouldn't necessarily lie to them. I made it very clear that whatever number I told them was never anywhere close to what I actually made. And it was always kind of funny seeing what their reactions were, because what I learned very quickly is this: it has nothing to do with how much money you make. It's what you do with what you make. Take a look at any
Yeah.
professional athlete, any singer and person like that, or any actor. They can literally make $25 million for a role and be dead broke a year or two after they retire, or after they can no longer be in movies anymore. So I always
Yeah.
tell women, look, don't worry about how much money the man necessarily makes. What does he do with what he makes? Is he invested? Is he business savvy? Is he smart with his money and stuff like that?
Mhm.
Yeah. One other thing, if I said that the average black man in America today does make more than the average black woman, and I showed you the statistics about it, would you actually believe those numbers? Or
Yeah, sure, I would believe those numbers.
all right, 10-4. I'm saying that for this reason. You made a very good point. The reason why I think our community, to some extent, is struggling is for one very simple reason. When Afro Latinos, like dark skinned Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, come to America, they get married, they stay married. When
Mhm.
dark-skinned Indians from like Bangladesh like that come to America, they get married, they stay married. When Africans from like Nigeria and places like that, they come to America, they get married and they stay married.
Right.
And every study shows that married couples on average have 35 times more wealth than single people. So for all my
Absolutely.
people that are listening, this BS that you're seeing on social media about red pill versus the feminists and the blue pill community and all these other losers and these beta male manosphere types and these weird feminist type chicks, they're telling you to basically buy a dog and die alone. Please ignore that crap. It's keeping us poor.
Yeah.
And the way they kept us pretty much down during slavery was they destroyed the black family. And that's exactly what a lot of this gender war crap is doing, in my opinion. So yeah.
Hmm. I fully agree, totally agree. So yeah, and like you said, when people of African descent, or let's say darker skinned people, even African immigrants, when they come here, they still marry. They might have, a family
Yeah,
elsewhere,
yeah. I was understood
you
them.
know.
I've seen it. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, and they also go for different jobs. There's one thing for sure. When I was in school, I went to Rutgers University and I went for supply chain management. And so when I took all business classes, I was at the campus with the highest Black diversity. And I seen no Black people, but always because I had business classes. So they kind of kept me stuck to one building, depending on your degree at that point. And I'm like, where's all the Black people at? And one semester I failed a class. So I had to take classes that were not related to my degree for one semester. And I had all the Black people in psychology, all the Black people in getting degrees that
Go ahead and
they
say
don't
it.
even get.
Diamond, go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it about these degrees.
I'll try to be gentle, but
Yeah,
degrees that are almost useless. That are almost useless. But who I did see in my business classes were Asians, African immigrants that came over here. It, and even when I did see, I must have had one African American guy that was in my class, and we seen each other the entire time until we both graduated. Other than that, and that was it. That was it. There was no African American men or women that were taking like business classes or and I'm not even talking about like taking an entrepreneurship degree. I'm talking about I was in supply chain management, which is a higher and degree when you come out, because I was offered what they want to give me 64,000 and to be a supervisor at 21 years old. You know what I mean? Just because of my degree, but I chose to go the content creation route. But it's just, it's picking these degrees that don't make any sense and getting in all the student loan debt and just doing things that don't make sense, honestly. And so I think that there's a lot of issues to pick apart when it comes to the Black community, but I do think there needs to be more unity and togetherness. I think at the end of the day, finances aside, civilizations are built off of family. And so
yeah.
that has to be the foundation of where we start.
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I push back on all my boys that say they never want to get married, or all the girls I know who are like 40 getting divorces and stuff. I'm
Mhm.
like, you don't realize what you're doing to your generational wealth and to your kids. So yeah, the building block of every community is family, and there's a reason why so many different unfortunate other cultures have done so much they possibly can to destroy the Black family. So people, we gotta start getting married again. So yeah, simple
Yes,
as that.
agree.
So let me ask you this. Let's kind of change the subject. We'll come back to some of that stuff a little later in the podcast. But whether it's Etsy, blogging, YouTube, podcasting, TikTok, or some of your e-products, because all this stuff is bad. What are three pieces of advice you would give anyone that wants to get into being a content creator? Because you're kind of doing it across the entire board, Diamond.
Well, so the first piece of advice that I would say is to pick one platform. So when I started out, I was strictly doing YouTube because every platform has its own algorithm. And I do think that YouTube in particular is well, no, sorry, TikTok in particular is going to be the easiest to get views. However, to get more long-standing success, I'm going to say that it's going to be YouTube because of the SEO algorithm, and now they have extra layers of how they push out videos. But stick to one platform at first and learn that platform, because if you're sitting there, you're trying to figure out TikTok, you're trying to figure out Instagram, you're trying to figure this, and this out, then you never really get to hone in and really develop a skill of understanding that platform. That's going to be my first one. My second one is to experiment with different content. different content styles, what feels good to you, because everybody knows that, consistency is key, but it's very difficult to be consistent when you don't like what you're doing. And so you have to enjoy the content that you're creating. It has to be and not only enjoyable to you, enjoyable to your watchers. And people can see right through when you hate what you're talking about. You don't really like what you're saying. You're not feeling passionate about what you're saying. And so it has to be something that you enjoy. And then the third one would be, I'm trying to pick something that isn't so cliche. Oh, the third one would be there's a book that I read. It's called Steal Like an Artist, right? So get inspiration from what works, redo what works, and do it in your own way. So if you see a title that works, I mean, when I talk to creators in my same niche, and I mean people that have way more than me, they're like, oh yeah, I stole your video because I stole your title. Everybody steals each other's titles, everybody steals each other's concepts, but it's about how you then put that out there through your own personality and your own authenticity that makes people stay. So that's going to be my 3 pieces of advice.
Dope, dope, dope. I love how you said you have to be consistent as well. Like somebody actually hit me up the other day and said, "Where do I go to buy my subscribers?" I do have a monetized channel, full disclosure, just like you do, Diamond. And I
Mm-hmm.
just told the brother straight up. I was like, "You know how I buy my subscribers?" He said, "Where do you go?" I was like, "I put out quality content. I
Yes.
did it consistently for years without getting one penny,
Mm-hmm.
and I made sure that my content was fire. That's how I bought my subscribers." I was
Yes.
like, so if you want to basically have a monetized channel, or you basically want to be successful in any business that you do, you have to work extremely hard and extremely smart. And
Yes.
I,
And
I didn't sugarcoat it at all.
no, and to put, a lot of people don't know, anytime you run any paid advertisements from your channel, anytime you buy anything, YouTube knows that and will not push you. They do not like that whatsoever. You're better off by simply being organic and getting your subscribers organically. And at this point, genuinely, even when I speak to brands, they don't care about subscriber count. They care about your current views and engagement, because someone can have 1 million subscribers and they're only getting 100,000 on a video. Those are not good numbers compared to how many people that they have subscribed. They want to see that your videos are performing well. I've seen people with 10,000 subscribers, but they have a video that did 200,000 views. That's amazing. That's what they're looking for. And that's what YouTube is looking for as well. So subscribers is not really king at this point. It's more to flex, to tell someone I have 200,000 subscribers, but at the end of the day, what engagement do you have, and how is that, and how is those videos converting to something else that you're trying to go into? So whether that's your business or whatever else. So I don't say look at subscriber count, look at impact that that video is making.
Let me ask you this. Your business model, Diamond, seems to consist of a lot of e-products. All up to the point where our grandmother still took us to church. Like, I mean, the first time I ever remember getting a spanking was at church, literally. So, I mean, we don't come from a community, for lack of a better word, of hood rats, whores, and thugs. We don't. Our grandfathers worked like they worked like crazy, and our grandmothers were the same way. They were the epitome of classy women.